Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about code reviews, and you might recognize those two people. They're sitting right there. You can ask them for their signature afterwards. Yeah, so this is my opinion on how I think code reviews should go. So just note that before you start throwing tomatoes and stuff. I don't want that. So why would you write a code review? So your code review is actually your first or second line of defense. Your first line of defense could be something like your automated tests or your PHP CS or CS fixer or whatever. So why a code review? First of all, code style. If you have your PHP CS or CS fixer set up perfectly, then yeah, you'll probably spot all of the code style issues you may have. But I think there's also a lot of things about code style that don't necessarily can be put into standards. They're kind of dependent on the context, dependent on the lines of code around it. It's important to keep track of code style. Spotting bugs, which is a very obvious one. When you do a code review, you can usually spot bugs that may not be detected by testers because the testers usually only have access to an interface, but the interface can give perfectly valid input or have validation which prevents you from being able to put strange parameters into a function, because a function by itself should still work well. Sharing knowledge. If you don't have code reviews, I'm not sure what you would use then, but what normally happens, in my experience, is that you don't have shared knowledge of the project. You know, code goes into your code base without you even knowing, without you've even seen it. Maybe you've seen it on the monitor of your colleague, but it's not nearly enough to have enough knowledge about this project. So it's very important to share this knowledge, and you can do this via code reviews. That was too fast. Lag. Architecture. During a code review, it's important to not get tunnel visioned on code style and whatnot. We've experienced this in our project, and we had to take a step back and say, right, we have to make sure that we also look at everything around it. How is this implemented? Is this implemented as it was intended? Is it still good from an architectural point of view? And this is something you can easily spot during a code review, and is usually too late once you've hit the merge button. So there are basically two kinds of code review. The left one being a simple pull request where someone else remotely or on the same location checks your code and looks it up. This can be on GitHub as a pull request. It can be on Bitbucket as a merge request. Actually, no, that's GitLab merge request and well, whatever tool you use. The right one is pair programming, which is pretty cool. I know Jellik is doing it a lot at his current company. It's a cool way of doing code reviews, because I mean, it's sort of an implicit code review. But in my opinion, it's not enough, because when you're working on code at the same time, you're both probably very, again, tunnel visioned on that piece of code. And it's hard, when you're so involved, it's hard to take a step back and see the bigger picture, which is really important. So some code review etiquette. This is something that I personally really like to pay attention to. It might be nitpicking, or it might be a little over the top, but I like to pay attention to it, and I think it's a good way to keep up the team morale. So I've gone onto GitHub. I have looked through probably 50. Well, that's a bit too much, actually. Probably 20 pages of pull requests over various open source projects. I'm not going to name the projects. You might you might recognize the. I see someone laughing. You might recognize the file name. But this is where a person blue. It's a bit hard for you guys to see, but I'll try to stay back. You'll see person blues say. I usually like to keep one line between functions. Looks like you have two here, and this will apply to all of my comments related to code formatting, blah, blah, yada, 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 yada. The whole story, right? It's a big paragraph. And person red says, that was simply a mistake when adding my code. So what I draw from this is don't draw conclusions too quickly. Because basically this person had an accidental whitespace error, and person blue is being very proactive, saying, you know, this and that, and telling a whole story, while all he had to say is, there's an extra white space here. Is this intended? Done. right? The other person would have known, no, it's an error, sorry. It saves time. And again, I know it's a little bit nitpicking, but I know these things, I think they really do matter. Here you have a conversation. Person red says, please use /*var link for the class properties. Blue says, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the right convention, blah, blah. Red says, it's fine. Blue says, what's fine? Red says, it's fine to put it on one line. So again, speak clearly, communicate clearly. It may sound obvious to you, but sometimes due to perhaps someone's language isn't English, it's a little bit harder to understand. It's important to, when you say something short like it's fine, like say what is fine, so we don't have to do this. This will happen in one day, as you can see, but this could have easily taken up 2 days because usually code reviews are done like in between, or someone's working on another task, he sees a comment coming and then fixes that and then continues working, and it causes disruption, so try to keep these things short. This one, which is from Laravel. We have person red saying you can't use the file exists function. You must call functions on the files object. Person blue says, thanks for the feedback, I don't see your point, blah, blah, please correct me if understanding is wrong. If I put this check on the file object, it'll affect, well, it's a whole story. And then person red says, not sure if you understand what I mean. This class can't know about the file system, you have to make the check through another class that does. So what person red was trying to say, please put this check, this file exists check on that files class there, so you can call it like this file exists, for example. But if you would use an example, this would have been clear from the beginning. It's a very simple example you can put down, and it would have prevented a lot of back and forth. And no, this is limited, but it could have been quicker and cleaner. So this is one I didn't censor because I think this is actually great. This is from Composer. Thanks. A simple thanks after a code review is, I think, very important. And also, every now and then, a simple GIF would also do. So this actually GIF Richard left on my comment, on my pull requests from April. Yeah, so GIFs are freaking awesome.
Use more GIFs than words.
Yeah. At some point, we were photoshopping each other's faces in pictures, and it got kind of crazy. But I'll leave out the details. So, yeah, GIFs are awesome. If you go to reactiongifs.com or jiffy.com with PH, there are lots of GIFs you can look for. Just type in a word. And I find them really funny, and it makes me smile. And I think smiling is good. So please do so. Now, a little bit on wording. With code reviews, you own the code as a team. You accept the code as soon as you merge it. You own the code. It's your code as a whole, as a team. So I think it's important that when you comment on certain things, you make sure to include we instead of you or pointing fingers. It's important that you own the code. So instead of saying you should do this or you should or change that, so you could say we should probably change this, or I think we should change this. And what do you think? Because the other person's opinion is very important. Not everyone will give you an argument against yours. Not everyone is easy with discussions. So it's important to trigger that person saying, what do you think? We value your opinion, you're part of the team. And this will lead to interesting people saying interesting things. Sometimes. A few tips on code reviews. Don't just do code reviews. Functional reviews are also very awesome. What we do is when we have a pull request open, we usually have a functional review and a code review. And we have another person do another code review and have that person merge it. So you have one functional and two code reviews, which gives input from two people. And you have one functional before the tester even gets it in his hands. So we try to keep the load off the tester. You're welcome. And we We try to catch those things early because when it's open in the pull request, it's very easy to edit. When it's merged, you have to, the ticket goes to the tester, you deploy, it goes to the tester puts it back more required, you pick it up again, new pull request, new branch, new code, you gotta look into it, what did I do wrong, blah, blah, blah. So try and catch it early. Save discussions for the tech retro. Now, I know not everyone has a tech retro. A tech retro is a technical retrospective. A normal retrospective is like things that went well and things that could have gone better over the last sprint or last 2 weeks or whatever your rhythm is. And a technical retrospective is where you take a step back from all the coding and whatnot, and you really look at the application and think, okay, this code base, is this what we want? Are we happy with this? Are there changes we can do? Can we improve this? And what I try to do is I try to prevent big discussions in pull requests, because what they do is they keep the pull request open. And I don't want that thing open. I want it closed as soon as possible. If the discussion is not immediately relevant for this pull request, if it's about like a more global issue, then cut off the discussion and discuss it during the tech retro. Or if you don't have a tech retro, you can do it under a nice cold beer on a Friday afternoon.
Who would you include in the tech retro?
All the developers.
Only developers?
Only developers. You feel left out.
Yes. Actually, yes.
And the tester.
And multi-tools. Multi-tools.
And an architect.
Architect, of course. Architect, yeah, okay. If the architect is not a developer, then yes, you can include them as well, definitely. Everyone who matters.
So especially no product owners, you mean?
Yeah, no problem. Scrum Masters, doesn't matter.
That was a joke. Okay.
We don't have any product owners, so who cares? Screw them.
But why include everyone?
Sorry?
Why include everyone so that we know that everyone knows how the
Everyone's opinion matters. You could say, well, you know, that costs us hours, important hours, but I think it's very important for everyone to be able to have their say, because it's important in a team that everyone feels valued, and if you listen to other people's opinions, it greatly helps also that person to improve and to listen on these conversations, because it's not always about the outcome of such a meeting. It's also about the conversation that happens during such a meeting. You go over a lot of, it's basically problem solving for a certain discussion that you have. Say this is something about convention, like a naming convention. There are a lot of little reasons why you should use a certain naming convention, and it's important that people listen to those conclusions being made, because if you understand the process, if you understand why someone made a choice for that, then you will understand the choice better than just hearing the choice and like deal with it, you know. So that's why I think it's important to include all the developers and not just the lead or whatever. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Keep the change sets small. Big PRs are not gonna. Well, I mean, big PRs happen. They happen very frequently. You can't always help it, but try to keep them small, because if someone has to do a review of, I see Petra looking down. Oh God, I had a big PR. No? Okay. Okay, I just misjudged you. Try to keep them small. If it's a big PR, like 400 lines of code that changed, then it's going to be tiring and you're going to miss things. So keep them small. Don't trust the coder. What we do when we have a pull request is we put down steps to test them functionally. The problem is we built the thing, so we're going to tell you what to do, and we know that certain situation is going to go well, so it'll be a merged pull request. I swear I don't do this all the time. Now people don't trust me anymore. No, it's important to keep challenging the code. Even if the coder says, yeah, okay, these are the test steps, these are the things you need to do, go off that path and try something else. Make sure that you actually read the code and don't just accept the fact that the coder said, this is how it's supposed to be. Go into the story, read the story, make sure it's implemented according to acceptance criteria, etc., etc. Don't trust the coder. Use PHP Storm. So this is actually like a life motto. You should all be doing this. But I actually mean during code review. So I don't think many people here actually do code reviews in PHP Storm. I've tried it and I actually really like it. And I'm gonna try and do a demo. Nice. Oh, cool. Everyone's hoping, oh, code, finally. No more presentation. Okay, so I've got like the worst project on earth here. Zen Framework REST. And I'm going to pull up a website. I actually have two pull requests here. I literally went through every open source repository ever made. And I picked out two pull requests that I could find, which had some minor issues. But very great effort from the people that actually do the pull requests because they're the heroes. Okay, so this is how GitHub does your pull request. No. Okay, fine. Is this good? Okay. Okay, this is good enough. Yeah, so this is how GitHub does your pull requests. And it's nice. They do very nice syntax highlighting. I gotta tell them that. You can use split view if you want. I personally don't like it, but the problem with this is your context is very limited. So if you look at this, you'll see I see resource identifiers array merge, and I see this. So I'm assuming it's somewhere in the function, and actually GitHub sort of knows it's in a function because that's what it shows here. Public function creates service with name, which is good. And yeah, I can expand it, but it's far from enough information for me to really say, OK, this code is correct. So I tried to fix this issue. This is going to be a little bit difficult without a mirrored screen. But if I grab my iTerm over here, can you make it a little bit bigger? Yes, I can. Calm down. Is that good?
Yeah, sure.
That good? OK, cool. So yeah, I'm in ZF REST right now. I'll pull in the PR. Right, Git PR, if you don't know it, it's in the Git extras toolkit, I guess you could call it. It's also you can also find it on the blog of Jeroen van Dijk. If you look up Git PR, I think you'll find it. It's just a quick way of pulling in a PR. It's really cool. So I've pulled in this PR. What you always do is you check what the PR is made against. In this case, it's master. So I make sure to pull in master. The reason why we're doing this is if we don't do this and we do a diff, we'll see changes that are in master that aren't in the PR, which is not what we're trying to achieve. What we want to see here, we really want to see the change that the PR will do on that branch. So we'll do git upstream master. And then we'll get a nice merge. Yeah, sure, merge. OK. So now I'll pull up PHP Storm. Yes, it can be bigger. Calm down. Enter presentation mode. So what I do is I do a right click. A right click.
Mirror mode.
I could, but then I would have to enable mirror mode.
You can see you work together.
You can do a right click, and you go to Git all the way on the bottom here, and you do compare with branch. Now I've actually I have a shortcut set up for it because you do code reviews every day, so it's kind of tiring to keep doing that. So for me, it's command \. And we want to be comparing this against upstream master. And then you get this nice diff screen, which is a little bit out of proportion here because of the presentation mode. You get the same list as you get on GitHub. Now the nice thing is I can double click this and it'll pull up something on my other screen, which I will show you. Oh God.
Awesome presentation.
It's cool when it works. I'm just gonna.
Mirror the screen. Mirror mode. Please enable the mirror mode. We wait for you.
I didn't say that.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Show me that pull request, please. Close. Well, there you go. Now I'll re-enable presentation mode. You can see I'm very prepared for this.
It's a live coding demo. What did you expect?
Well, you would say I'm pretty used to those by now, but apparently I'm not. So, end presentation mode. All right, let's try this again, shall we? Yeah. Bigger. Hey, okay. So you get this great diff. Right now it's just a new file, so it just looks green. It's like, yeah, okay, it's fine. So we check the next one, which is actually something different. And the cool thing here is that you actually get the full capabilities of PHP Storm on that window. The right side is your current checked out code, and the left side is just a copy of the old version. So you can see here that I can do all this stuff and I can still see everything. So if we scroll through this, you can see here my integrated PHP CS actually says, excuse me, this has to be spaces instead of tabs. I don't know why this person put tabs in there, but he did, which is something that would have been caught by PHP CS. And all right, so this one's not much interesting stuff. We have abstract plugin. This is also spaces must be indent lines, blah, blah. A listener. A whole lot of new code. And I'm actually looking for, oh, that didn't look very good. There. So this is an example of something that you would easily see in PHP Storm, which I think PHP CS Fixer also spots this. But you can easily see unused imports because you have the PHP Storm capabilities. Also, I think, and that's in the other one, you can easily control-click and go to that class. I think it's now behind this. Yeah, so I control-clicked, and I'm right now in the class. You can see all of the method signatures. You can make sure that certain methods actually exist, because GitHub, the pull request on GitHub doesn't actually tell you this. You have no idea. You're just guessing. I'm sure that is spelled correctly and such. So that's a reason. I will show one more, which is this one, number 29. God damn it.
Shots fired. Jerry.
So where was I? I was at 29. Thank you. This kind of hurts my pride a little bit, as far as I have it. This one's against develop because, well, consistency. Perfect. That's the refler. That's for later. Don't get excited about that just yet. So yeah, you can see a lot of changes here. It's not very interesting. Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to show you. It's a little bit bad with the coloring, but this is something you wouldn't have spotted on a GitHub pull request. The MVC event is not actually imported here, and you wouldn't be able to see it because the GitHub pull request doesn't show you the top of the file because the changes are down here. So you don't see the use statements. And here it actually tells you undefined class MVC event dispatch. So this is very, very useful to spot these little errors and use all the capabilities of PHP Storm. So enough about that. Last point being the end. Any questions? No questions?
Do the review there, and then you comment back on GitHub.
Yeah, that's one downside is where you actually have to go back to your browser to comment. But I see so many more upsides than downsides, in my opinion. So I'm curious, is there anyone who thinks like, nah, this is a bad way of doing it? Or does anyone else have any tips for better ways to do it? Because I'm curious.
Make sure you run the functional test that doesn't run on a PR, for instance.
You mean check out the PR and then do the functional test?
We have like conception tests that don't run every single PR. Well, why don't they? Because they take a shitload of time. Why do they take a shitload of time?
We implement. Conception.
Why are they badly?
Now we're getting somewhere.
This is getting dark.
We test a lot, not review.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely.
I can elaborate some more about the pairing you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, please.
As a form of code review. Pairing isn't working as the code review. You should also do code reviews apart from that, in my experience. Because, well, in the ideal situation, one would be driving and being the tactics guy, and the other one would be navigating and having a high-level overview of the architecture and stuff. Yeah, well, that doesn't work, sorry. It could work, and it could work well, but I think it's utopia for now. So be alert to that. Maybe it works in your team, but be alert. See what your team needs for that.
And make sure that if you're pairing, that you do not always pair with the same person. So
Of course.
switch your pairing views, because that's
Yeah, and switch driving and navigating like every 10 minutes or something. Otherwise, the other one will lose everything. But well, that's a whole different workshop on pairing. I can do that as well. Oh well.
but then with a non-PHP developer.
Yeah. Maybe we should
Would be
pair up
yours.
for a pairing.
Workshop.
Cool story, bro. Tinder for PhD.
Anyone else? Any comments? Nope. Oh.
I have one.
Is it about my English?
No.
Okay.
To what extent is it possible to automate checking of unused namespaces and things like that?
Unused use statements. You mean?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. You said unused namespaces, which is
Sorry.
I understand.
Used,
I tweeted about this, I think, and Noxy said to me that you should really use CS Fixer, because CS Fixer does actually see these things, and it can fix it automatically for you, which is I'm a little bit hesitant about it, but I'm willing to try it. But yeah, CS Fixer spots these things.
But it can also remove the used ones. If
You've
you're using,
you've experienced it?
yeah, I tried it once, tried it just out of curiosity, ran some checks and tried
Mhm.
it once, and it was removing stuff that wasn't supposed to be removed. In PHP Storm sometimes it's the same problem. If you're using annotation style,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
classes,
Yeah.
request classes, or
Yeah.
objects.
Better to do it the right way.
Especially,
No, no.
especially in Symfony 2 controllers. If
Yes,
you
you
use
have
the
you have a hard time
template
if
and
you,
the add route
yes.
will be removed.
Yeah. Yeah, very relevant.
Yes, for
So
example.
there are tools to correct it, or can you use the same tools to spot these errors? Because
I believe so, yeah.
namespace imports, I think you can't spot them with PHP code sniffer.
No, you can't, but CS Fixer does. Maybe version 2 though.
Of mess detector.
Maybe version 2.
Okay, because that would be, you would be able to automate the code review process. That would
The code style process, yeah.
well, the stuff that you use PHP Storm for mostly, because you if you
Does
just
it?
say you drive mostly.
I'm not sure if it detects missing namespaces, because that's kind of like a I don't know.
Well, PHP
maybe.
Storm can, but I was just wondering
Yeah.
to what extent can you.
Yeah, you could mostly get rid of that part. Another thing that I forgot to mention, and what I like, is that in PHP Storm you can sort of have a bigger picture, because you see the nice file tree, which GitHub doesn't tell you. GitHub just shows you like the list of changes, and it does tell you which file, but you don't really pay attention to it. In PHP Storm you can still see the directory structure, and you can spot certain errors in that, or things like, hey, that's not supposed to be in that directory and such. So that's another thing that you could do.